Good morning. Hi, I'm Walter Gray IV. I have been asked by the Help Network to do this webinar today about performing in motion or performance capture. The reason I believe that they've asked me to do this is I have about 8 years of experience working for Sony on their motion capture stage for shooting a number of video games, which we can go through today. But also I'm an actor. I came out here, got my master's at UCLA in 2011 for acting. I have an MFA in acting, and the marriage of one of my favorite passions, video games and acting, coming together and being able to work on shooting these projects has been wonderful, and I hope to share that with you guys today. Also, I'm going to be answering questions about auditioning for motion capture. Go Bruins! Auditioning for motion capture, trying to take some of the fear out of going in person for those auditions. A lot of times, especially for Sony projects, you will actually go to this stage. You'll go into this big giant gray box, and with all the where they shoot the games, and that can be a lot for an actor that hasn't done that before. Who's usually used to going into a small office and recording with a camera and a reader. So we'll touch on auditions today. All the technical stuff that might seem like a lot, we're just going to focus on what is helpful for an actor and a performer working in a motion capture shoot. Again, my experience has been in video games. It hasn't been in film. However, as far as the performance goes, it shouldn't be that much different. So yeah, I started working at Sony in 2011, right out of school, as a key set production assistant, and through the years have worked on a number of not just Sony projects, PlayStation projects like Uncharted 4, Uncharted Lost Legacy, The Last of Us 2, God of War, Spider-Man, Death Stranding. I mean, the list goes, Knack 2, remember those? The list goes on and on. Any questions about the process, I'll try to get to for that as well. Everyone's process is different. Everybody that shoots with us, with them, is different. I should say I retired from Sony back in October. So anything today, I'm not speaking for Sony. I'm speaking for myself and my own personal experience. Again, to try to help ease performers into the world of motion capture and really kind of show you just how much fun and easy it is to enjoy it and let that joy take over, as opposed to the fear or the trepidation of working on a motion capture shoot or auditioning for motion capture. If you guys noticed already, the Help Network is listening in. Big Brother is with us in a good way. They are in the chat and they're responding. So if you have any questions directly for them, the chat works. But I'm actually going to start off the Q&A with a question I already got from, you can't see that, there you go, from Courtney Taylor. Not Courtney Taylor, Courtney Taylor. I hope I'm saying that right. Have you self-taped auditions for mocap? Yes. If yes, there's more. Do you have tips for how to do it effectively? I do. And can you walk us through making the very most of an in-person audition as well? Absolutely. So in my experience, through my agents, when I get a motion capture audition that is not in person, it's a self-tape. It's a self-tape audition. It's the same as doing it for television or film. You get a script, you get sides. More often than not, especially with video games, they don't give you a lot of details because the NDAs, the non-disclosure agreements for video games, are super strict. So they don't want to necessarily tell you if it is a well-known IP or project. If it's a Marvel game, for example, they will not say, you know, Wolverine. They'll say, I don't know, Canadian guy, short Canadian hairy guy with long nails. But it's your best to take the information from that script, make it your own, like any audition, and film it. I just use my iPhone. The cameras on these things are so good right now. I have an iPhone X. It's great. I'm lucky enough to live with my partner, and she helps me film the auditions, and vice versa. If she has auditions through her agent, get a reader. If you don't have a reader, you can record your own lines and play them back. It might seem cheesy, but it's one way to do it. I always see auditions, especially on film, especially on tape auditions. You have as many chances as you want to mess it up and get it exactly how you want it. You have an opportunity to stand out. They have to go through so many submissions. Not stand out like wear a silly hat and, you know, like, oh, that guy's weird, he's not going to work, but really making it your own and having fun with it. I think also, and it's the same with an in-person audition, the more of you that they can see, whether it's in your slate or just how you are on camera, if you're able to kind of have an ease on camera, they see that, like, we want to work with that person. That person seems like they're really fun to work with. Be as off book as possible. If you have to be, if you just got the lines, which happens sometimes, hey, we just sent you the sides, we're going to need this first thing in the morning. Use it as a prop if you can. Like if you're a scientist or a doctor, you can check your notes, you know, while you're auditioning. I always, you know, use it as a prop, use it in your scene. The more they see that you're invested in what you're doing and that you believe what you're doing and your sense of place is there, they will definitely consider you, or if not, put you in their back pocket for next project. What I mean by sense of place is, there's actually, this is on a very short reading list I'm giving you guys today. There's a book called Audition. It's an older book. Michael Shurtleff, theater kids will know this one. He talks about place, and place being literally the place, the scene, the world. The more that you can make that alive for yourself as an actor and as a performer, the viewers can see that as well. It's an amazing book. Highly recommend it. I'll go through it again at the end of this session. This is really a three-part question, so just walking through, making the very most of it. Yeah, shoot it on a good camera. A lot of motion capture auditions start as a voiceover audition. Sometimes agents aren't even told, or they don't know that you are auditioning for motion capture. Hopefully the people in charge, the casting departments, the companies, they will tell you this will be motion capture. You might need to shave your beard because we need to do face cap. We'll talk about face cap in a second. But it's all about making that impression, letting them see who you are, but also just having a decent camera. Again, your phone should work now. Everybody's phone should work. If you don't, ask your friends. Everybody can do this together. Right now, during a pandemic, it's a little hard, right? But even here, you can jump on Zoom with somebody and run lines, or just do a phone call, or send me a hello. I'll help you with your audition. I'd love to. It'd be great. I'll give you guys my information and all my handles, not these handles, not these, you know, not my personal, but the Instagram and the Twitter and stuff like that. As far as an in-person audition, it's a theater audition. You go in 9 times out of 10, hopefully you'll be in this room. If it's an in-person audition, it's usually a callback. You'll go into the motion capture stage and they will have a long table there, and I'll have upwards of 3 to 4 to 8 people. Probably the director for the game itself on the stage, the game director, maybe a lead animator, lead writer is usually there, casting director, obviously. And it's just like a theater audition. You go in, you're off book as much as you can be if it's very short notice, and they should have a reader for you. It depends on the project, it depends on the budget, yada, yada, yada. But usually when you go in for a film and television audition, the reader is behind the camera. They're operating the camera, and they're usually the casting assistants, the casting director. And they're not always, you know, completely, no, what do you want to do today? They're engaging with you. Hopefully you have a reader on stage doing the scene with you. So it's very much a theater audition. You will be acting out the scene. So if you can, in preparation, work with someone else ahead of time. Again, I'm available. Get with that person, run the lines, run what kind of blocking you want to do. But also, like any audition, be prepared to change that blocking, to change some set beats that you have or actions that you have for that audition, and have fun with it. This is a chance. Every audition is a chance to play, no matter what it is. Voiceover, theater, film, TV, especially mocap, especially motion capture. If you go into that room with a sense of play and wonderment and joy, and, you know, not over the top, like, oh my God, I can't wait to, this is so awesome. That can be a lot. I've been on both sides of the table. Part of my experience, not just being a key set production assistant on the stage, was being a reader. Once I kind of, not so subtly over the years, tugged on shoulders and said, hey, I got I got some experience in it. If you guys ever need a reader, I don't know. Insomniac was gracious enough for better part of a year, hired me as their reader for auditioning all the parts for the Spider-Man game, especially when Yuri himself was unavailable. I was able to read in the villains, all the characters that were MJ, all the characters that were in there, and that experience as an actor, and most of you, I'm sure, already know this. It's huge. You get to learn so much about the energy that comes into the room, what the actor brings, including especially that ease. If they come in with that ease and like they're just happy to be there, you want to work with that person. That's the big thing about an audition. I've been rambling enough. Thank you, Courtney Taylor, for your question. I'm going to go to the Q&A and see where this wild ride takes us. Lindsay Lucas Bartlett, hello. Thank you so much. Bartlett, excuse me. If you have physical theater training, do you think mocap courses are worth investing in? I think it depends on the course. There are a lot of really good workshops of some really good people. I would have to give you a list outside this because there's just too many, and I know some really wonderful people that I could get you in touch with. That being said, if you have, for me personally, it's a budget thing. I have 3 years of an MFA program from UCLA. I'm still in debt from that. Like, as far as money goes, I just can't afford it. I do want to keep fresh. I want to keep moving. There are workshops that you can take. There's Alexander technique classes you can take. They're expensive, especially if they're taught by the best of the best, which out here in LA, thankfully, we have. But it's really your call. But yes, there are some classes, and I can get you in touch with some people. And the Help Network is always trying to get some new workshops up and running, especially once this pandemic hopefully calms down and we can go back outside again. But I think that's really up to your judgment, Lindsay, because if you feel confident in how you move, then use it. If you're finding that you're going to auditions and you're not booking it, or the agents are saying, if you're able to get some feedback and the agent's like, yeah, they liked you, but it didn't work out or whatever. Also with movement and motion capture, and I actually, there's some links that we're gonna be sharing throughout this, and I'll ask the Help Network to share them, but you'll see, I think, and it depends on the project, it depends on the director, different games want different things, different films want different things, but especially in today's video game world, it's very story driven. And what I've found in my experience working on the stages, both as an actor and as a production assistant, is that less is more, that it is theater in the round. So depending on where the digital camera is, and sometimes like God of War, they're very specific. They had a digital, they knew exactly, that's why it's one long shot throughout the game for those of you that don't know. They knew exactly where the camera had to be at all times to capture all of the action, how they wanted to capture it. But most of the time, they won't tell you where the digital camera is going to be. The Last of Us, Uncharted, the Naughty Dog games, they tend to just shoot very natural, very much like theater in the round. And then they'll put the cameras where they need them. Yes. Thank you, Help Network. They actually just posted the God of War link. If you guys want to check that in the chat. It's about 11 minutes, but it shows you the back and forth. I'm actually featured holding the really heavy boat, but you can check that link of the chat. I hope that answers your question, Lindsay. It really depends on how you feel and how you want to spend your money and time. That's what I have to say about that. Moving on. How would you, this is from Joey Bosco, how would you suggest you initially get a gig or involved in the mocap, PCAP industry specifically? I find it's hard to find anything unless you know somebody or have an agent for it. I'm not gonna lie to you, I lucked out. I was able to get the job as a production assistant with Sony, and I was with them for a while. And through that, very slowly throughout the years, I was able to kind of just tell casting directors, tell animators, I can help with this if you guys need me. And that's how I was able to do it. I would say, let your agent know, let your representation know, hey, this is something I really want to work on. I want to work on motion capture. I want to work on video games. A lot of that is tied to or starts with voiceover. Get yourself a microphone at home if you don't have one already. There are some very affordable options that are very good microphone receivers that you can use for auditions. Figure out, have your agent figure out, or you work with your representation where the video games are, who needs motion capture, and just say, that's what I want to work towards. Also keep an eye out for those motion capture workshops. I think they're few and far between nowadays. And again, the Help Network's trying to change that, but it's doing your research, but also reaching out to your friends. Reach out to me if I can offer you up to somebody. Say, hey, I think this person would actually be really good. I don't know you, but like if you have a reel, if you're into stunts, there's a lot of stunt performers that work all the time, and they have stunt reels. But if you just have a commercial reel or a TV reel, anything helps. A lot of casting directors do look at your IMDb. They look at what you've done before, any kind of reels you have. They also, for video games, a lot of casting directors look for theatrically trained individuals, because of that idea of theater in the round, of learning all of your lines before going in for a shoot day. That kind of training is extremely helpful. So I would say just starting out cold, get yourself a voiceover reel. Start with a voiceover reel. You can go on Google and find all of these royalty-free scripts for any kind of product, anything that you think your voice could sell. You can do commercials. The big one for motion capture that helps is animation. You could do an animation reel. Again, I can go into more detail about that after this. You can get in touch with me. I'll leave my information, and you guys can get in touch with me, and I can go more in depth on that, just because we're strapped for time today and have a lot of people. But I hope that helps start to answer your question, is get those reels going, and that's how you can start to move towards motion capture. I'm a specific case. I worked my angles and tried to work up and try to do more acting as opposed to a production assistant. Being a production assistant, actually, here's another great way to do it. Join a stage. If you have the time and you're able to make that extra money on the side, try to work as a production assistant on stage. You learn so much about motion capture. You learn the art, the how the animators interact with the directors. I hope that answers your question. Again, if you have the time, and I know everyone really wants to jump into this, feet first, it's such a fun world. I'll try to get more into that, but if you come in with that joy, it's completely accessible. It's wonderful. If you have the time and you have the inclination, try to be a production assistant. Try to get into the production world of video games. The amount of knowledge you will learn, and how to do things and how not to do things, which is also very important as an actor, will inform so much, and it helps you for those auditions, and it helps your ease if you have to walk into a motion capture stage that you're not blown back by. You're like, okay, yeah, no, I know this. I know what that is. I know what that camera does. This is cool. Where do you guys need me? Oh yeah, because this occlusion, oh, you don't want me behind this box, because you already know the tech, which we can get into in a second as well. Craig Thomas, I hope you're still here. I know you need to run off. When performing mocap for a game, what is the hierarchy of the people giving you direction? Is there a director, in quotes? What would be analogous? Don't put big words, Craig Thomas. Don't make me read things out loud. Makes me sound very dumb. Analogous to a film or television project, or are some of the technical and artistic directors weighing in as well? That depends on the project. If you look at, and I'm not going to break any NDAs here, but if you look at Naughty Dog, you look at Neil Druckmann with The Last of Us, there is a very clear hierarchy. He knows exactly what he wants. It's his baby. He wrote it. He knows this world. He also has an amazing team right behind him on stage of animators and writers and co-writer. Like it's such a tight ship. Same with Insomniac. You have a very clear director on the stage. You have a game director. You have lead animator. They will all be on the stage, but as far as who's giving you the direction, that can change because they all have different opinions on the day. They will all have met beforehand and figure, okay, these are the shots we're shooting today. We need to do this scene with, Peter Parker is in MJ's apartment, and then they get the call and he has to run off and beat up Doc Ock or what have you. And then they know what scenes they need to shoot for that day. You will have a director. You might also have an animator that pulls you inside and say, hey, just so you know, and these are little micro details, just so you know, when you put away this weird weapon that we invented for this game, it actually holsters on your back, not on the side or whatever it is. And those little details as an actor, you just kind of go, okay, thank you, that's helpful. And but there should there should be on a project, if it's well run, one director that the actor is able to communicate with, and then that director gets all the adjustments as far as the world of the scene, the game that they need from the animators. But sometimes there are a couple different people that are able to help you and give you a full idea. That being said, I think as a performer, it's very important to not allow yourself to get overwhelmed if there's a wealth of information. Always ask questions. If you're in the middle of a scene or you're like, hey, actually, I need to look up at a character, and on the stage, it's a sandbox. Gordon Hunt always said, motion capture is a sandbox. It's all imagination. That's one of the greatest things about this. Should open that. Motion capture is about imagination and play, the sense of play. Get to be kids again. It's wonderful. If you've ever seen Nolan North on stage or know about him, and we actually have, we do have a link about Nolan North, Halp Network, if you could put that into the chat. Just him talking about his role as Nathan Drake and his experience working with Gordon Hunt and Amy Hennig on the early Uncharted games. It's really interesting to hear his process and what he learned about it as an actor. There it is, Tech Radar's interview. Thank you so much. But if you ever see him on stage, the man is a consummate professional. In the sense, he's very hilarious. There's not a dry eye in the house because everybody's laughing so hard. But as soon as action comes on, he knows his lines. He's in character. He's there. But the whole time he is having a blast, and he is making sure everybody else has a blast. If he and Troy Baker get on stage at the same time, you are lucky to shoot 2 scenes, if there are 8, because they are just feeding off each other. A bunch of different actors like that, especially the voiceover community. They're all just having so much fun. And sometimes as a production assistant, you're sitting on the side and you're going, I don't want to have that much fun. That can be frustrating. But making that transition, getting out of that into more acting. I hope that answers your question, Craig. I gotta keep going, but yeah, it depends on the project. But you as an actor, you can always say, I'm sorry, and I've seen this before, and I think it's actually a healthy practice in shooting. If you're getting contradicting directions, ask them. Say, hey, sorry, just so you know, you wanted me to do this for this take, you wanted me to do this for this take. I think that's contradictory. Is there a middle point? And work with them. That's awesome, you answered it. Work with them on that, have a dialogue. Just say, hey guys, I just want to make sure we don't burn tape. We don't waste any more time. You get this take that you want. You said you need this slower. You said you need this a little bit faster. Are you guys communicating as to what you need? Okay. This is a question from Rebecca Davis. When you self-tape, do you always do a full body shot? And do you ever hint at costumes like most people do in on-camera auditions? Awesome question, Rebecca. I think that depends on, that kind of depends on you. They should ask for if they ask for a full body shot, obviously, it's usually a cowboy, right? Like down to the hip so you can see the gun where the cowboy shoots, just so they get an idea. It's smart to do, slate and face forward and then give a side view so they can see how fat I've gotten in quarantine. But give them an idea of what you look like, at least from your head to your, unless they ask for a full body, then absolutely. But they should, hopefully, the client be specific as to what they need to see of you. What was the second part of that question? Because I answered it. Here's the problem. I had 1 cup of coffee today. I didn't have 2. That was on me. That's on me, Rebecca. I think did I answer, Rebecca? It depends on, the clothes. I just remembered. It was the costumes. That's your call. If you want to be remembered, you could dress up to the nines. If it's fun for you and they see you committing to that character, I don't see the problem with that. If you want to commit to a costume, then do it. They will remember you. Oh yes, thank you, Julia. Don't obstruct your face in a costume. If it has a mask or anything like that, they want to see you. So if a costume helps you also in the character, great. But and everyone has a different, this is my opinion, everyone has a different thought, acting teachers, as to how you should dress for auditions. I was told early on, never dress all in black for an audition. I had an audition for the newsroom years ago, and I was a bartender. Bartenders wear black. I wore black. I booked it. There are no rules, and that there are, the rules are what works best for you, and that's through trial and error, I feel. So totally wear a costume. I agree with Julia. Don't cover your face during the audition. But again, most importantly, if it serves you, if it serves the audition, if the costume doesn't distract from your performance, that's a big one. I would say make sure that, if you got a big Elizabethan, collar, they might be looking at that the whole time instead of your wonderful performance. So that's what I would say about costumes. Leela Birch asked, when there are no stage directions in the script, how do you decide what movement to do for your character and how much to move around the space? That should be worked out in rehearsals. Not every client has the time for rehearsals, unfortunately, but the companies that are able to afford the extra rehearsal day, or sometimes week, depending on the project, the big AAA companies especially, they like to take time to rehearse. God of War, with that camera, they need to rehearse all the time. Last of Us, Uncharted games, Naughty Dog is very good about rehearsal. Insomniac's great about rehearsal. It's necessary to get that understanding between the actor and the director and the animators, that everybody's on the same page before we start shooting. Because once you start shooting, you have a whole, it's over here, whole group of people on the stage that need to get through those however many shots they have for the day. It might be 10 shots with 10 different setups. And those setups, the crew needs to build a set. They need to build a big gray box set, or map it out from the digital information that they're getting from the clients. For example, if it's God of War and they got to chop Mimir's head off of the tree, we got to build a tree-like thing, put the actor, Alistair Duncan, as Mimir in the tree, figure out where his head is in the world, figure out where Chris Judge needs to chop it off, figure out where the kid picks it up, things like that. All of that can be a tech day with the stage, but the actors and the rehearsals know when that needs to happen, hopefully. Oh, for self-tape, my apologies. If it's a standard cowboy or wide, just know your frame. If you move around too much because it's on tape, that can be distracting. Kind of know your audience, know your medium. If you're in person, move around as much as you feel your character would. Too much movement, again, like with mocap these days with a game, I feel like if you do too many big broad gestures like Greek theater, it doesn't come across, because every camera is so on you. The head cams are right there in your face. Everything is, they capture every minute detail that you do. But for an on-tape audition, that's up to your discretion. I would say don't flail around too much. But if you're doing a character, if you're doing like a golem or it is a creature or something, find that creature in your body, figure out what that movement is, and then just try to stay in that. With camera, you have the opportunity to be as intimate as you want. So your partner that's filming it, or if you have it on a tripod, you can kind of figure out if you want to do a wide shot and show how that character moves. If there's time to do that in your audition, I say go for it. And they go, oh, that's cool. She gave us a little move set, showed us how this character might move for her. Use your discretion. I feel it never hurts to send a little extra if you think is needed. If it is a character piece like that, or a creature piece, what's the worst they're going to do? Not cast you, and that's fine. On to the next one. I hope that helps. But yes, on stage, you're going to go through blocking and everything, hopefully with your director and everybody. I got to go back to questions. We have an anonymous attendee who asked, I'm not a stuntman or athlete. Is mocap still a viable avenue for me? I'm assuming, anonymous, that you are an actor or performer, and I would say absolutely. I believe, I'm gonna stop saying I believe because it's redundant. Motion capture is one of the most freeing forms of acting. It is, I said it before, it's in a sandbox. You get to, yes, you have a silly suit on. Sometimes you have a head cam on, and that weight and everything, and that camera and those lights in your face, it can get very distracting. But once you get past your costume, once you get past the suit you have to wear and the head cam, and you're just with the other person in the scene, you get to just be completely invested in that scene. That sense of place kicks in. If you're in a big action scene, if you're dodging bullets or getting behind cover or something like that, you can be fully in that world with the restrictions of the head cam, with the restrictions of the suit. You can be in that world, and then all that's there is your performance. And that's when you get to have fun with it. Even if it's a sad scene, if a character dies and you have to deal with that, you can fully immerse yourself in that. People, all good, David. Is your question? No, it's fine. Anonymity's fine. No judgment here. You can. I think motion capture, like acting, can be for anybody. You don't need. I don't have a stunt background. I have a martial arts background from years ago. I'm actually still recovering from a shoulder injury from ages ago and got some surgery for it. I've been on the mend, but I think what's important is if you commit to it, if you love what you're doing, if you are a performer and you love to perform, that is everything. Then yes, of course you can do it. You should do it. If you want to do it, if you've never done mocap before, audition for it. Seek out those casting calls, or get your agent to say, hey, put me in line for, the next Spider-Man. I'm just trying to make sure I got everybody's questions and we keep moving through all these. Thank you for your patience, guys. Seth Austin asks, for someone who has zero mocap experience but lots of theatrical training, what do you think is the way to get your foot in the door for no stunt experience? Great question, Seth. As I said earlier, and you might have joined in after I said this, I think what helps, it doesn't hurt, is to get some VO reels, to record some VO reels at home, or to get a friend, find out who's an engineer out of your list of friends, and record a commercial reel, but most importantly, record an animation reel. Send that to your agents and say, hey, can we send this to this project? I think voiceover, again, is a big entrance for a lot of people. Having the theatrical training, once they go, okay, who's this Seth Austin with this VO reel? Oh, he has an MFA in acting, or he has this experience, like I said, not in stunts, but he did Shakespeare here or whatever. It helps. It doesn't hurt. I don't think an MFA degree actually helps you book anything. In fact, I know it doesn't. But having that training, having that theater training, casting directors will notice that. Julie, correct me if I'm wrong. Casting directors will notice that and say, that is helpful, because that person can learn lines. That person can show up on time, traffic on the 405 permitting, and do their work and know their blocking and be able to keep all that in there. I think that's a huge help. So I think you saying I do have theatrical training from the rooftops, anybody that will, training is looked at for sure. Theatrical training helps, and saying, hey, I have some theatrical training. I know that's helpful with mocap. Because the difference I have noticed, just a general comment here, throughout the years, we've had television actors come in and shoot motion capture. Death Stranding is a great example, and we actually have a clip from that too for Death Stranding. We have big film actors, big movie stars that came in, and it's amazing to see. And actually, everyone on Death Stranding adapted to the stage really well. You'll notice sometimes a discrepancy. Actors might get completely distracted by all the technological stuff, the props that are just, what is this thing with markers on it? It's supposed to be a beer bottle or a wine bottle, but it's just a cylinder, and having the actor have to pretend this is a wine bottle, so I'm gonna chug out of it. Actors can get hooked up on that sort of thing. Oh, there's a sniper up there, he's about that far away, and sometimes the animators can't give a very good, or the director can give they're off that way somewhere. It's your job as an actor to go, I'm going to put them right there, I'm going to see them in my mind's eye, and I'm going to use them in the scene, and then they can adjust you. It's you committing to the action, and you, again, just embodying the sense of place, the scene, committing to it, and then they go, yeah, that's really good, but actually he's off to the right a little bit, and just making those technological adjustments so they can also, I don't want to say this as a, there's a joke that would be on stage where, oh, we can fix that in post. If you're holding a gun a certain way and you're aiming a certain direction, for example, and they actually need you to be aiming at this character, animators can change that, but you shouldn't, as a performer, assume, oh, they can fix that later. Try to give exactly what they need on the day. Try not to get too frustrated if they keep changing things or change their minds. Oh, let's do 3 more takes where you're aiming this way. do it. You're getting paid to be there, and it should be a lot of fun. I hope that answers your question, Seth. Pasha Soul asks a great question. Hi, Walter. Hi, Pasha. How does one become a production assistant on a mocap stage? You look for it. Some video game companies, a lot of companies themselves, EA has their own stage now. A lot of, oh, that's your question too, Jeff. Apologies. So Jeff and Pasha, hello. I mean, Naughty Dog puts out when they're hiring animators and stuff a lot. Same with Insomniac, but you can go to the Sony website. You can go to SIEA. You can Google, motion capture stages. Who's looking for a production assistant right now? I have no idea how Sony. Again, it's hard to tell right now since we're all kind of indoors and have to stay there right now. But when things start to open up and you want to get that part-time job, I would recommend reaching out to Sony, reaching out to House of Moves, Rouge Mocap. There's a bunch of motion capture studios, especially in LA and just around SoCal. There's some up in the Bay Area. They're all over the place. And you can always ask and say, hey, here's my work resume. I'd love to be involved and help out on the stage and learn. Do you enter as an intern? I don't think it depends. It depends on the studio. Some people have an intern program, some don't. You can ask. You can reach out and ask. Okay, Joey Bosco has a great question. For auditions, I was taught to slate with a T-pose. Would you say that is a good thing to do? I've never heard that. If you were told that and you want to, sure. I've never seen an actor come in for an audition. Cool. Yeah. So the T-pose, let me make this general for everybody. The T-pose and for the Sony stage right now, it's actually, it's more of a, let's see if you guys can see this. It's more of a kind of like this. They call it the zombie pose. I call it the C3PO pose. It's kind of an A pose, and then they bring their hands up. But yeah, the T pose, what that is for data on the motion capture stage is that is a bookmark for your physical motion capture data going into the system. And that's why they ask, okay, we need a T pose at the beginning. Sorry, my arm's disappearing into my cool background. They need a T pose at the beginning before you start, and then places, and then action. And then when the scene's done, okay, cut, that was great. We need a T-pose again from the actors. It's just a bookmark that helps the people cleaning up, the quality assurance people, cleaning up the data later, and the animators. Okay, this is where I start tracking, and then this is where I finish tracking for this scene. So a T-pose for auditions, if you want to do it, okay. I mean, it's just, again, it's a theater audition for me. So I would just go in and, slate, say, hey guys, thanks for having me. And then, or whatever, small talk, hopefully, and then do the scene. A lot of the times, people, they're seeing so many, I'm sure Julia can attest to this, they're seeing so many people and they don't have a lot of time. They might have one day to cast a major role, or 2 days, or just one day for auditions and one day for callbacks. The quickest, without being rushed, the most efficient you can be to go in, do your job, have fun, say thank you, and leave. That's appreciated, I feel. So if a T-pose does not distract from that, why not? You can show them like, hey, I know what to do. And they're like, you did a T-pose. That's, try it out. Craig Thomas says, as a film and TV actor, there are resources available through workshops and social media to connect with casting directors and network. What are some ways that an actor can make themselves known if they're interested in mocap work? Kind of what I said earlier about tell your agent. It's like, hey, if you see any video games come down the pipeline or motion capture work for TV and film, I'm interested. I would love to get into a suit. Tell your agent. If you have friends in the industry or friends that know, like other VO actors or people that have worked in video games, say, hey, I'd love to get into this. Do you know someone that I could know of? There's a list of wonderful, extremely helpful casting directors in the voiceover and video game community, and they are extremely helpful and wonderful, and they can say, oh, give me your stuff, and then you'll be in their Rolodex, hopefully. When you're preparing to audition or perform a mocap role, what are some ways you use your body to create the physicality of the character? Great question. I would say, Craig, it's the same as theater. It's if you're a fan of Alexander technique, you know, do a little animal work, figure out where the character leads with their body. But that's really, I mean, that's the homework that that's the homework you do leading into the role, into the audition, or into the suit. I think it's important to do that work for yourself. As far as having that be a big, I feel this way for most acting. Do the homework, figure out the character for yourself, and then let it go. Maybe figure out, okay, yeah, this person has a little bit of a limp, or maybe, you know, they got shot at one point, so this is going to be bothering them. But have that internally, and then do the lines, and then as long as that's in your head and in your body, you'll feel it, and they might see it. Pick, oh, that's an interesting little thing he did there. I wonder what that was. But I would say internalize it. Let that be, you know. Again, if you're a creature and you're going for like a Gollum kind of thing, like when Andy Serkis auditioned for Gollum, they thought he was just going to do the voice, and he did a full tape, and he like acted it out. And Peter Jackson went, "I'm going to give that guy the start of an insane career." It never hurts if you have the room to go all out with a character like Gollum. If you get this great villain role and he's, you know, Skeletor or something like that, go all out, have fun with it. Again, you having fun with it, they're gonna say, that guy, that's fun. Let's bring him in, see what he does on the stage. On the stage, you're gonna have room to really explore. If it's a shoot, I say, if it's a shoot like The Last of Us, or it's a bit more intimate, it's a bit more like, you know, Death Stranding, very dramatic, kind of heavy scenes, take that into account too. It doesn't need to be all, you know, melodrama, but when you go in, what's important is that you're connecting with your reader, or you're connecting with the other actor, and that you're fully committing to those moments. You're in that sense of place wherever you are. You're on the beach with all the dead whales and a weird baby strapped to your chest, whatever it is. You fully, yeah, okay, that's where we are. Let's go. Let's run and have fun with it. The client seeing you as a performer, just committing to whatever insane world they give you, that's what they want. That's what they need. And if you happen to be a good person, or a genuinely like a fun person to be around on top of that, that's the best. That's who they want to work with for months. That's who they want to have in their game. Is your willingness to have fun, to play, to be safe, to look after yourself on the stage, and to ask questions. Ask questions to the crew. They're always there to help you. If there's anything technical that you don't understand, ask questions. People are always happy to answer. Alfretz asks a great question. How do you feel mocap, VR, and AR will be utilized for advertising in the near future post-COVID? I wouldn't be surprised if we, being an optimist here, once all this subsides, I wouldn't be surprised that we start seeing Blade Runner type stuff. You know, maybe in Vegas we start seeing holograms and stuff like that are driven by motion capture. I mean, virtual reality is getting better and better, like the Oculus and the Vive and all that stuff. It's getting really good, and more often than not just for video games, but yes, for advertisement. I wouldn't be surprised in commercials and stuff like that. They need more and more motion capture. They need motion capture performers, because that is a human being in the suit. There are still so many animators that work on top of that, but nothing beats a physical human body moving. That you can't. I mean, you can. There's some amazing animators out there that can really make something look legit, but it's just the uncanny valley. It's getting closer and closer, but I feel like our eyes can tell that's a human being stumbling in that scene, as opposed to someone keyframe and animated it. So I think it's going to be everywhere. What are some things that might help set someone apart when applying for a production assistant position? Your work resume, but I think also your attitude. I would ask for an in-person interview. And if they're not able to give that to you, that's fine. Move on to the next stage. But I would ask for an in-person interview and say, hey, this is a world that I enjoy. This is a world that I want to learn more about, and I want to be a helpful hand on your stage and show that initiative. I can't imagine any stage that has the position open would say no to that. Everyone needs help shooting games. Video games are going to keep going. They make too much money and they're too much fun, so they're going to keep going. So I think you getting in the room in person as a worker, as an employee, saying, hey, here's my work resume. I may not have a lot of experience as a production assistant on the stage, but where can you set me up? Do you have an interim position? I'd love to learn more about this and get hands-on. Again, that initiative is huge. If you want to do it, if you love to do it and they see that, why wouldn't they hire you? They might be full up, but if they're not. Andrea, I don't fully understand your question. Have you or do you utilize Actors Access at all for mocap? I have not. My agents want me to. I have been trying to set it up while I've been in quarantine. So I'm in the process of doing that. I think it's helpful to be on, if you can afford it, be on Actors Access, casting networks. If you don't mind all the emails, or if you can filter those out. But the more access that the working world has to your resume, to your reel and things like that, the more opportunities hopefully you can have. And again, you can kind of filter them to say, I want to work in motion capture. Thank you, Jessica. Pasha, again, if you're still in here, how does one become a production assistant on a mocap stage? Like I said, just send your resume, your work resume, to different stages, Sony, Rouge, House of Moves, all these, Google motion capture stages, production stages in Los Angeles and SoCal, and send out, or wherever you live, and send out your work resume and ask for an in-person meet and greet. Jeff Burns asks, what are some stage practices you think we'll see once we start transitioning out of quarantine and back to work? Do you think we'll see mocap that's 6 feet apart? It's possible. Sometimes there's already mocap that's 6 feet apart. Sometimes, depending on the game, depending on the characters, if you have two actors that are like the same size, and then, thank you, Andrea. If you have two actors that are the same size on the stage physically, but then one of them is like a cave troll, and he's actually however big, like 10 feet tall and huge and whatever, on the stage, they might actually put you guys quite a bit apart on the stage, so that the eye lines are correct, because once they make their character huge in the virtual space, the character is going to be this big, and then the other character talking to the cave troll or fighting it has to look up and do that eye line, and usually those actors need to be somewhat far apart already. Animators can then, and then to answer your question, really, yeah, you could put actors in four corners of a volume. It's not the best data, but you could put them in different areas, or everybody could shoot. I guess it's more work. It's much more work, but you could shoot individually, like one actor on the stage for like a couple hours and get him off, and the next actor, and then they have to interact with each other. But the beauty of motion capture is that it is theater in the round, is that you can actually be face to face with your scene partner and work with them, very much like theater, or hopefully in film, but again, without all the cameras in your face, just this camera in your face. I've been bringing up HMCs a lot and head cams. We do have a link about with Ashley Johnson doing some early, this is from years ago, early face test stuff. It's facial capture, so they're head mounted cameras, HMCs. You see a lot of actors in the behind the scenes wearing these big things with lights on their face, and they have makeup dots on like the different muscles to capture every little nuance. And that's part of the getting ready in the morning, is makeup, putting these dots in your face, and then head cam capturing everything your face does to help the animators later with forming the character in the scene. But we have a little, it shows you kind of the one-to-one of how that works and how much fun it is. There it is right there. Help Network just posted it in the comments. Just gives you an idea what HMCs are and how they work. If you'd like to get in touch with me, I'm on Instagram as _Rendar007, I think, because I'm a nerd. But if you just put in Walter Gray the Fourth, I'm there. Same with Twitter. I think that's Walter Gray 007. I like James Bond. That's on Twitter. I just joined Twitter a little while ago. It took forever to do it just because I wanted to stay away from the president's tweets, but we're on Twitter now, and then Facebook, just Walter Gray the Fourth. I'm on Facebook quite a bit. Oh, Jeff, thank you. Yeah, I'd love to be in a Bond game, but as Felix, I don't want to be James Bond. I think James Bond should either be a Brit or not an American. That's just me. Thank you guys so much for all your kind comments. And I'm going to go through, I haven't been able to go through all the chat, but got one last question in the Q&A. They often say you need to balance your time and pick either on camera or voiceover. Does the same go for mocap and VO? I don't think so. Do it all. Get a little microphone set up at home. Hopefully, if you have an agent, they're going to be sending you commercial sides, video game sides, animation sides. You record them at home as much as possible. Send them in on time. And if you get a mocap audition, and sometimes there's, again, there's an on-camera. Please send us an audition that's on camera and at home. Take the time to do that. You can definitely do, but you can do it all. I want to get back. I was in the process of getting a theatrical agent before all this, before the world went to hell. So I'm going to have to get back on that and try to get back in front of a camera at some point. Quick little reading list that'll help, especially with auditions. I mentioned this earlier, Michael Shirtliff, Audition. This is classic, especially to help you with that sense of place when you go into an audition on camera or in person. Michael Shirtliff, Audition. There's also one of my old favorite mentors and wonderful people, Gordon Hunt, How to Audition. This is a classic. Gordon's not with us anymore, but this book is phenomenal. It's great about talking about the nervousness that you get and able to work with that nervousness and use it in your audition, which I can't stress enough. And this is the big one. This is the big one. Voiceover Voice Actor by Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt. This is the second edition. They actually have a whole chapter on motion capture, but this breaks down everything about voiceover exercises, getting yourself out there. This is the book that I would recommend. Voiceover Voice Actor, Yuri Lowenthal, who played Spider-Man, Tara Platt, who was Detective Yuri in Spider-Man as well. They both have a number of credits for the name. You can look them up. But I cannot recommend this book enough, especially getting your reel together, getting microphones, stuff like that. But also there's a whole new chapter on motion capture in this book. So Voiceover Voice Actor, you can find all these on Amazon. I know essential items are what's being sent from Amazon right now, and you might need to wait a little bit. I think some of these are available as an e-reader as well. But those are the books that I would recommend to help you with your auditioning techniques, because again, for motion capture, I feel like it's just like theater. And then especially Voiceover Voice Actor helps you specifically with voiceover and motion capture. If no one has anything else, thank you. Thank you, Leila. Thank you everyone for sticking in. I'm gonna try to go through the comments now. But if the Help Network's happy and you guys are happy and everyone feels like their questions are answered, it was an honor to be here. And thank you guys. And thank you for this time. Thank you again, everyone. You're very happy. Thank you. I'm very happy. This was a great break for me, guys. Shit's crazy right now, and this is weird. So this was a lovely escape. Thank you guys so much. If you need anything, please reach out on social media. Say hi to me. Send a message on Instagram. I will respond, and we can talk more. I hope everyone stays safe and healthy and inside as much as possible. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Have fun. Be safe. Keep at it. Keep acting. Keep busy. Let me know if you need a reader for anything. Take care, guys. Bye, Help Network. Bye. Just do this for ever.